Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. But I'm gonna be going into what is the word etymology mean. So you hear some of us brothers use that term. So if you knew, even if you've been in the truth a minute, I'm gonna show you why this is so important to know. And if I'm probably gonna have to break this up into two parts because I want to go into this word Jewish and I want to go into this word Christian. We're gonna go into the etymology, the origin of the word, so you can understand what the word properly means. And when you put ish on the end of something, like you have blackish, reddish, brownish, it's not exactly brown, but it's something like brown. It's not exactly red, but it's something like red. So the word Jewish is a real stumbling block. That they created this word Jew and Jewish to put it in all their literature so they can control the narrative. So when you see that word, a Jew or Jewish, you'll think about them, right? This is all done on purpose. So let's go into what does etymology mean? Let's break it all the way down. What does the word mean? It says etymology. When you go into the root of the word, it means true. So the truth in a word, that's what it breaks down to. The truth of words, etymology. It goes back into a Greek origin. So that goes to show you that we're in the Greco-Roman Empire with these Edomites. So this is the revised Roman Empire, but with that Greek influence as well. The Greeks and the Romans were Edomites. That's how this system is ran today. That's why a lot of these words go back into Greek and Latin origin. So when you go into etymology, check this out. It says the study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history. It says the source. It says origin, right? So now we know what this word means. Let's go. I'm going to show you an example. This is how we know that the name Jivas is a false name, because that name Jivas is attached into that so-called white man, the Edomite. Salaki, this thing is going to be bugging out. Lord, when I can get through this lesson, right? So let's go back. And we're going to go to Matthew 1 and 1. It says the book of the generation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. All right, so let's go to this word, Jivas. And what you're going to see, this is why you have to be studious. You have to look at everything when you're analyzing any information. So when you go into the blue letter, when you go into that word Jivas, it says root word, etymology, right here. It says of Hebrew origin. And it's something that most 98% of people miss. So what is this telling you without them telling you? That his name was not Jivas. The letter J was not invented into 1524, and it was put in publication around the late early 1600s. So that's impossible that the Messiah name was Jivas. 1 second, Salakia. So it says of Hebrew origin. So they're telling you that this name goes back into Hebrew, because the Messiah was a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah, spoke Hebrew, right? He will be from a Hebrew descent, right? Yahawashah. So him and so-called Joshua, as you know as Joshua in the Bible, his name was Yahawashah as well. So-called Joshua name was Hawashah, then it got changed to Yahawashah. That's why it points back into this name Joshua, Salakia. Just kind of bear with me. And I'm going to show you how they interject this Jewish term inside of all their literature. So they did a hijack from the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, and put this word Jewish in all their literature. They start stripping the word Hebrew Israelite out and start interjecting it with the word Jews, Jew, Jewish. It says right here, proving my point. It says Jewish. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to show you some confusion right here. So when you go into this word Jewish, I'm going to get into this other term. I said so much to get to. This other term, when they can add they can take existing words and add new definitions to them. So this word Jewish, when you used to go to it, matter of fact, I'm going to have to do maybe a whole series on this. When I get my my other dictionary in part 2, I'm going to go into the word Jewish and show you they've changed the definition. It says right here, it says related to, associated with, or denoting Jewish people or Judaism. So let's keep going. And you don't have there's no such thing as a 12 tribes of Jewish. So when they use this word Jew or Jewish, what they're saying out of error is they saying that they from the tribe of Judah. That's a lie though. And you can't have that. So they say they fulfill biblical prophecy in 1948, but it'll be all 12 tribes united, not just so-called Jews, not the tribe of Judah. So a lot of confusion. They throw a lot of confusion just to keep you into a sea of confusion. Check this out. I found this definition very interesting. Just load back up, Salakia. It's kind of bad with me. It says right here, Britannia. It says a Jew is any person belonging to a worldwide group that constitutes through descent or conversion. You hear that? So there's no way. See, confusion on top of confusion. You can't convert over to be an ethnicity, right? When we say we the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, that's from the 12 tribes, right? So when you say you're a Jew, you're saying you're from the tribe of Judah, but these words are new speak, right? These words was newly created. Jew and the letter J, like I said, came into existence in 1524. So prior to all that, there was no such thing as the term Jew, a Jewish, a Judean. But we have to use this terminology so you can understand what we're saying, because most people have been learned under these terms. That's why we say so-called black and so-called white. That's what you're familiar with, right? So this word Jew and Jewish is a hijack. They put this word in place so you can think about them. The visual that comes up in your mind when you see this term Jew or Jewish will be them. But in actuality, when you go back into the term, this new speak called Jew, is basically going to the tribe of Judah, Yahweh in the Hebrew tongue, right? And you had 3 tribes that was referred to as so-called Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But in particular, when you say Jew, in the new speak of it, they're aiming it back to the tribe of Judah, right? That's how it's supposed to be done. But they bring so much confusion. Like in the land of Israel, there's no such thing as the 12 tribes of Judah, but Jewish, But I have to go more into this word, but let's keep going. Go to this word Christian. And I showed you, matter of fact, I need to show you this as well. It's going to be a whole series with this. It's just too much information. It says right here, it says in religious study, understanding the origin of words is crucial for several reasons. So they're going to break it down, all right? AI. It says understanding nuances and a deeper meaning. Knowing the etymology of words can help uncover the layers of meaning and connotations that may not be apparent in a modern translation. Did you hear this? I'm gonna show you an example of this. Like in the word world. The word world has about 5 or 6 different meanings. I'm gonna go to it. So the most misquoted scripture that you Christians say is John 3:16, because you don't understand what words properly mean. You don't get the word world has different meanings. You just been taught through the institution of Christianity what the interpretation of the scripture means. But it's different meanings of the word world. And that's why you have to go into the etymology, going to do other study. It says right here, for instance, the Hebrew word Adam, meaning both man and earth, highlights a deeper connection between humanity and creation that simple translation might miss. Check this out. It says accurate interpretation of religious texts at the very top. Words and their meanings evolve over time, and a failure to recognize this can lead to misinterpretations and even doctrinal errors. That's all you got in Christianity because they don't know, they haven't been taught to go into the etymology of words and break history down so you can have a better understanding of what this word means, understanding the culture as well. It says, for example, the word pitiful in the King James Bible had a different meaning in the 17th century than it does today. Do you hear this? It says gaining a broader perspective, examining original languages allows for a better understanding of the original writer's intentions, cultural context, and perspectives. This deep. So you got to really roll your sleeves up and be studious because you have to go into the Hebrew, you have to go into the Latin, and you have to go into the Greek to get the understanding, a deeper understanding, and know the history, and you got to know the culture, and you got to know other things as well to make this all make sense. But in short, these people don't know what words properly mean. They don't know the etymology of words. So let's go to this word world. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example right here. It says at the top in the Bible, world, cosmos in Greek can have several meanings depending on the context. And that's why we try to tell you people that you don't understand what John 3:16 properly mean, because the word used in that context is cosmos. It says it can refer to the physical world, and if it would have been talking about the whole world in this John 3:16, it would use the word archimene, right? That's knowing the Greek, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. It says it can refer to the physical world. That's one. It says the human population. That's two. It says the framework of human circumstances. That's three. It says or the secular system opposed to God. That's four. The term can also encompass a specific time period, age. That's five. Or the entire universe. So sometimes you'll see the word world there in scripture, but it's talking about eon or ion, which means an age. See what I mean? That's why you have to go into the root of words and also understand the context. It says, here's a more detailed breakdown. It says physical world. This refers to the universe, the cosmos, or creation. Examples include the earth, the stars, and all of God's creation. Human population, world, can describe all of humanity, regardless of moral standards or beliefs. It says secular system. In many New Testament passages, world refers to the system of values and beliefs that are opposition to God. It said in some contexts, world can signify a specific time period or an age, as in the Greek world. Then you got some called the Roman world. It says the Bible also uses world to refer to specifically to the planet Earth. So you got all these different meanings, and it's like that in a lot of words in the English language. When you go into the etymology of it, it opened up a whole door of understanding. So this is why you have to know what words properly mean. And that's how we can break this word down Jewish and tell you it's folly. We can tell you in Christian, that's going to be my next lesson. And I'm going to go into a new word that you don't even know exists. It's when they add definitions to existing words. That's a whole nother vast lesson. But I'm going to go into that as well. All right, hopefully this lesson has been edifying. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rachak, Kodash. Shalom.